Hey there, comic book friends. I'm Travis.
And I'm Ethan.
And this is
Monster Comic Reviews.
That's right. And we're here to talk about comics, and we're talking about comics from March 13th. So let's you start out.
Okay, first up we have Batgirl, issue 18.
One of the Requiem covers, titles, which really didn't have a whole lot
I was
in
going to say,
it.
this really didn't have anything to do with Requiem at all.
Yeah, quick phone call in it to say, oh, hey, Robin died.
Dead.
Like, why would he? I mean, I understand why he calls Barbara, because Barbara's his kid. Obviously, he must have a sense that Damian is Batman's kid.
Uh-huh.
And so he felt the need to call. But yeah,
still.
whatever.
Okay.
Um,
I'm looking forward to more Freaky James.
We'll see what happens going forward, because now Gail's going to be back on the book. This is the last issue that Ray Fox wrote, which was okay, but nothing special. Yeah. We basically, it's a little more courtship of James,
Being
freaky and threatening her and whatnot. Where's the roommate?
Yeah, I don't know.
But I think that whole storyline's been kind of just screwed up, hasn't it?
Yep.
Kind of dropped. Really feels like it. And it doesn't even feel like it just because of the two writers. I mean, it feels just. I mean, when Gail was on,
it was just kind of gone.
So I don't know.
Yeah. I give it a 3.
Yeah, it was very average. I give it a 3 also.
Okay.
Okay, next we're going to talk about Batman issue number 18.
I really like this book. I like Harper. She's an interesting character.
Do you think she's the next Robin?
I don't know. I mean,
do you think this book kind of...
If there was somebody to pick to be the next Robin, then I would say probably Harper. Yeah.
I don't think she'll be the next Robin.
No,
I think she's a cool character. I hope they keep her around.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, she's an enjoyable character as far as that goes. But there has been lots of scuttlebutt on. The reason I'm asking is lots of scuttlebutt on the internet. Oh my God, she's the next Robin. Blah blah blah. I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's gonna be another Robin for a while. First and foremost.
Well, yeah, no.
But I don't think she would be anyway. I mean, not to say that she isn't gonna stick around and she won't be some sort of a, part of his greater family of stuff with her engineering and mechanical.
Yeah.
Inclinedness, but I don't. I don't see her ever putting on the cape. I don't see Batman ever going, oh, here's the Robin cape, and I don't see her just taking it on.
Yeah, no.
That was a really good issue. That was really well written. When we were at the con, of course, Scott Snyder said that really the real emotional content and fallout of Damian dying, he felt like that needed to be addressed in the Batman and Robin book. He was going to let Tomasi address that and whatnot. So he needed to figure out how to write his own story kind of around it, but not really addressing it in the same fashion. I thought this is a very good, version of that and stuff.
Yeah, it was really good.
I thought it was pretty enjoyable.
Yeah, I love how casually he breaks Harper's nose. He's like, oh, I'm sorry, I acted rashly. I'm like, you broke her nose. I mean, whoa. Also, Harper, way to take it like a man, because, I don't know, I think I would have taken a few minutes to go, oh, what the hell? If somebody punched me through a fence and broke my nose.
Yeah, but I get the impression though that Harper's from a
place where
family life where maybe that wasn't so
unusual.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'd give it a 4.
I give it a 4 also. Okay, what's next?
We have the actual real Requiem book, Batman and Robin issue 18.
This book was awesome. I mean, I mean, for basically having no words in it except for the note at the very end.
Yep.
This book was just absolutely gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
I love all the scenes there. There's the scenes of them swinging, and he sees Damian, but then Damian's up there. One of my favorite scenes is where he gets all pissed off, and he takes the Batmobile and he crushes the crap out of that lamppost.
Yeah, he's sitting on this lamppost, which would be an amazing piece of art down.
Yeah.
It'd be absolutely awesome, right? And then he gets mad and proceeds to
basically,
takes
God
it out.
damn it!
Just good.
Smash!
Just
smashes it all and whatnot. He's just, absolutely. Then he gets this note, and I love the note from Damian because it's not a. They could have made that note so incredibly cheesy. It could have just been, it could have been written like a deathbed, death letter. And it really wasn't that. It was just, okay, Dad, I know you don't like it when I disobey you, but this, I need to do this, and blah, blah, really, really well done. Excellent comic. And for a comic that had no weird words in it, the storytelling in it was absolutely beautiful.
Yep.
100% my favorite book of the week.
Yeah.
It was just absolutely a beautiful, beautiful book.
So what would you rate it?
I rated it a 5.
Yeah, shocker, I gave it a 5 too.
Yeah. Okay. Next, we're going to talk about the Fantastic Four, issue 5.
Well, since we're doing this as a one-shot, we really don't need to waste much time with this book. We have really no idea what's going on, and it's not a good story.
Well,
I give it a 2.
It's not that I don't know what's going on. I mean, I pretty much understand what's going on. I mean, the only thing that's interesting about the book is the fact is that Caesar, the guy that fakes Caesar, is still around.
Yeah.
And he's going to pay them. He's going to help them out in some way. So I'm curious as to what that would be. We'll find out because I am dropping this title, but we'll get a couple issues before it's completely dropped. So we'll find that part out, I would assume. But the book just lacks any panache. It doesn't have any... and what he just said, we're rushing through. We've got 9 books this week, and so we're just going to do it all in one take as opposed to breaking it up in 2. So we're trying not to talk too long.
I give it a 2.
So Ethan's giving me the subtle hint to shut up and let's move on because it wasn't that good of a book, and I would give it a 2 also. It was just, there wasn't a lot to it.
Next up, a Marvel book that is much better, The Fearless Defenders, issue 2.
Love the cover. The cover's fun. The whole action figure, action
Misty
figure
Knight
thing.
and Valkyrie.
Yeah, that's
and others sold separately. Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. We get Dina Moon. Moonstar is actually in the book in this one. I didn't know she had lost her mutant powers.
I didn't know. I don't know who she is.
Because you don't know who she is. She's from the New Mutants. So, interested to see what her play is in the whole thing. The basics of it is that the Valkyrie should have been collecting Valkyries, and it's over the years has not been collecting Valkyries. She's just been kind of screwing off, or at least that's the Asgardians' viewpoint of it, and because of that, it's allowed these anti-Valkyries, to start to potentially build up and could potentially destroy the entire world.
Yay!
Kind of a thing. So that's kind of curious. So does that mean that the people she has hanging out with her right now are going to be kind of like honorary
Valkyries?
I
don't know.
I mean, because it sounded to me like from what Valkyrie was saying that if you choose to be a Valkyrie, you're taking on a lot of. I mean, you basically become like her kind of thing. Almost with the impression. So I'm curious to see what's going on. I don't know that I'm super excited about the book, but it's kind of fun.
No, but yeah.
So I at least plan to write out this arc to see what I think of it going forward from there. I'd probably give it a 3.
Yeah, I think I'd give it a 3 too.
Okay. Next, we're going to talk about Katana, issue 2.
This wasn't a good book. I give it a 2.
And Nassetti basically strikes again, right?
Yep.
Not very good dialogue. A bit confusing. She doesn't seem very strong in this.
Nope.
The other thing that I do kind of think is cool is the lady with all the tattoos all over her.
Yes, that is.
And buying the little
thing, buying the
little glimpses of different parts of her tattoo. That part's cool. Otherwise,
yeah. Nope.
I'll be dropping this book.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
So, next up, what do you give it?
I would give it a 2 because I kind of like the art.
Okay. So I like the art too, actually. The Shadow, issue 10.
Don't like the cover that we got. The cover we got is this one. Not a cool Alex Ross cover or a Francavilla cover or anything like that.
Just a cover that makes completely no sense.
Yeah, this just strikes me as being a stock cover. They asked a guy to draw a cover of The Shadow, and he drew this one because there's no woman like this at all in here. There's not even a city street or a city in this. In this book,
nope,
the whole book is at a castle.
Mm-hmm.
The book itself, though, really like.
Good.
Aaron Campbell does the art inside of it. I always like his art. It's solid for this style of a book. He has some great lines in it. He is dealing with a guy who thinks he's going to be the king of Spain.
El something.
I can't remember what his name is. And the Sparrow,
the Black Sparrow. She's an interesting character just because it seems like she almost might have her own game going on.
Yeah, that she's like the Shadow in some sense or another.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they battle for a little bit, and we're getting a de-hooding in the next issue.
Yep.
To see what
his face looks like.
Because the guy is just a really freaky. He literally wears a bag, a red bag tied over his head, and his intention. We find out that his intention really is to be king of Spain. He's got all these backers, and
really. Although you know what, I have to admit, I've kind of missed the classical takeover, whatever.
Right, the maniacal.
I mean, it feels like there's it's been a while since I read something with a goofy villain like that.
Right.
You know.
We all consider a trope, and so you don't see much of it anymore.
Yeah.
But it's to the point now to where it's not. That's
It's
actually
not.
kind of
So
a unique thing.
it's kind of refreshing to see
Yeah.
that I want to take over whatever he's going to take over.
Yeah.
So
It's a wonderful pulp. I mean, I really enjoy. Enjoy
it's
the
a
book.
fun book.
It's just,
I like it a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. What would we rate it?
I give it a strong 3, almost a 4.
Yeah, I give it a 3-2 because it's not like nothing about knocked my socks off or anything. But yeah, it felt better than average though too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. So yeah,
It's
somewhere
like in
around
between 4 and 3, perfect.
there. Okay, so next we're gonna talk Sledgehammer.
The
44.
Um,
Issue 1
Yeah.
or 2. It's a
It's
miniseries.
pretty interesting.
Of
I love the
Dark Horse.
fact that they shell that they drop him from the plane is a big freaking bomb casing.
Yeah,
That's pretty great.
that's how they. Basically, what it is
They
this
deploy
is
him into battle.
this is set at towards the middle begin of World War II, which is kind of an interesting setting because it's really before the Hellboy universe really exists in
Yeah.
a sense because Hellboy doesn't show up until the end of World War II. That's when they find the infant Hellboy. So this story was actually written kind of with an artist in mind. That artist actually passed away before they could have him do the work. But they had the story, so they decided they would do it. Anyway, the character is kind of a robot. We don't know if he's actually a full robot or if there's a guy inside of an armored suit or whatever. And like you're talking about, how they bring him down onto the battlefield is they literally drop him in a giant, what looks like a giant A-bomb, except he's inside of it. So smash to the ground, he pops out.
You know what? And he's supposed to be destroying this big Nazi robot. Drop it on the robot.
Well, they didn't know exactly where the robot was at.
Oh, okay. Whatever. They could have dropped it.
In the building?
Yeah.
Anyway, so there's a battle ensues between this robot and the Nazi robot,
and he kicks the crap out of it, but kind of gets trashed himself.
He nukes himself in the process. So now you've got these GIs who know nothing about it whatsoever. These are American Army soldiers who are I think are fun in the fact that they kind of capture the characters that are not Sergeant Rock, but the people around Sergeant Rock. It seemed like if you ever read any Sergeant Rock comic books, there's all these different characters, and they aren't just guys. They are characters. They have a little bit of stereotype to them, but they are all amusing. They all are kind of over the top in their own ways, and these guys are kind of that way.
That reference means nothing to me.
I know it doesn't. It won't mean nothing to 90% of the people that probably watch this video either. I'm just saying that if you're like me and you've read Sergeant Rock comics, they have that kind of a feel to them. They scoop the guy up and they're leaving the battlefield. They're obviously in Germany somewhere and they're trying to get out and back to their unit.
Yeah.
They're wheelbarrowing this robot dude,
Yes.
who they think is dead at one point, but obviously they decide he must still be alive because he starts making noise or whatever. But they're wheelbarrowing him out and trying to find their base. And of course, at the end of it, they run into some guys
That they think are other American soldiers. Just kidding. No.
They're Nazis. They're Nazis and that run into a giant Panzer tank, and that's where it ends. I said, one of two. It was fun. I like it. I like the art. I think it's going to be, for 2 issues. You don't even have to know anything whatsoever about the Hellboy universe whatsoever because this doesn't have anything to do with Hellboy. This is a 2-shot about a mechanical battle machine in World War II. So. Okay, what's last?
Last up is Thor.
God of Thunder!
Issue 6.
Cover looks awesome.
Yes, this is awesome.
Unfortunately, that artist didn't do the inside. This is the first issue that doesn't have the regular artist on it,
Which
and
kind of sucks.
and boy, could you tell.
Yep.
This is a much wordier issue than they have been in the past. Also,
Probably because he didn't have
this
said
artist, right.
But that's okay because it was still a good book.
it was an interesting story. We get hear the backstory of where our God Killer, Gore.
Okay, I'm really glad that God brings up that sentence, or not the sentence, the subject though, right? Because I was thinking, okay, so he's all powerful, and he lives forever, and he flies through space and kills other gods. Isn't he a god himself?
If somebody worships him, right?
True, nobody worships him, I guess, but he's still a god. I mean,
well, what I guess the question would be is what defines you as a god?
true.
Somebody who has worshippers. His issue was.
But see, other gods.
His issue was that the gods that were supposedly watching over him and his family and all of his stuff sucked. They weren't helpful at all. So what's the point of worshiping and begging for help from gods when those gods aren't there? And then these 2 aliens crash down to Earth or down to the planet that he's on. He thinks they're gods, and they're all beat up and half dead. And one of them goes, "Help me!" And he gets all pissed because how dare you, if you're my gods, how dare you ask me for help when all the times I've asked you for help, you didn't do anything. My mom was killed, my kids were killed, blah 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 blah. So he gets all pissed off, takes the guy's armor, and starts working himself into being this all-powerful thing that he is.
And so you think, if you're going to go with the whole, is he a god because he's not worshipped or whatever? Well, he kind of is. I mean, all the other gods are in fear of him.
That doesn't make him worshipped.
Yeah, I guess, but that still makes him, I don't know. I think that qualifies him as god. I think he's a god.
Well, then half the superheroes in the Marvel Universe are gods.
Okay.
Not just have godlike powers, but are gods.
True.
Because you have to have worshippers. You have to have worshippers to be gods. So I don't know. Maybe he does have worshippers. I have no idea. They didn't give us that part of it. But I mean, he does bring up a good point. The guy does throw in his face before he gets crucified. This god gets crucified. He's got a whole landscape on this planet of crucified things.
Gods.
You know, they humanize him some in the fact they show that he's got a son. So
I guess whatever.
Well, it does. It does. I guess it depends on how his son was born. If he had his head split open, the son came out of his head or something.
Well, no, he's not Zeus.
Okay. But, so yeah. So, interesting. You know, the next arc is going to be the God Bomb, which, whatever that's going to be, which still has to do with this. I really like the art. That's what appeals to me most about the book. The story is interesting and whatnot. The art makes me excited to open up the book and whatnot. Without that art,
I give it a 3.
Yeah, give it a 3 also. That's it for this week.
Cool.
We zipped through them. I almost feel like we didn't really talk about them.
That's okay.
Is it?
No.
Okay.
Well, kind of. I don't know. It depends. These aren't very depth-filled books. I mean,
well, I could go on.
Robin
Batman and Robin. I could go on for a long time
but
talking about how detailed it is and great and whatnot. And there's some more minutia about Batman itself too, with the whole Harper thing and whatnot.
Yeah.
But you're right. A lot of others were like the Fantastic Four, for instance.
Fantastic Four and Katana.
Katana were basically forgettable books.
Oh yeah.
Not quite regrettable, but forgettable.
Yeah.
So that's it for this week, and I'm sure next week we'll have another video or two out. Have a good one, everybody.
Bye.